we were going to the end of last year, and a handful of things, God had been lining up these dominoes, and we could see a handful of things coming into confluence.
Yeah.
I'll keep this very general and brief because I know we've taken up a ton of your time, but so basically I've worked for a software company for 8 years
Yeah.
that is privately held, an amazing company, incredible people. And the leaders of that company knew that they were, as part of their plan to transition into retirement, knew that they were planning to sell the company to private equity. Very common practice for successful private companies. And because they are great stewards and generous people, they had put in place what's called a change in control plan, where when the company was sold, half the proceeds of the sale would be distributed out among the employees, um, in proportion to how long they'd been there and grants that we received over the years and were vested in and all this complicated stuff. But basically, every employee was going to be rewarded out of the profits of the sale based on how much they had contributed to the organization. It's incredibly generous of them.
Yeah.
And they had been talking about the sale for years, and it was sort of like the rapture. We're like, yeah, it'll happen when it happens. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
like no one knows the time or the season, right? Like it was kind of like we didn't know when it was going to happen. Seemed like it was never going to happen. You had gotten into a car accident
Yeah.
and had an injury as a result of
Yeah. I
that.
herniated my discs.
Yeah, and had gone through a lot of, frankly, pain. That was part of the reason why you ended up coming home to be a stay-at-home parent.
That was a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that I had to choose between doing my job to what I would want to call excellence. Like
Yeah.
I want to do my job well.
Yeah.
But my body paid for it. And because the lab was the way the lab was, I couldn't have help all the time, and we
No.
didn't have equipment to move everything by hand. So I was lifting bee boxes to do honeybee inspections. Then some of the honey supers were, 70, 80, 90 pounds. And I'm
Yeah.
doing that 100 times a day or 70 times a day.
Yeah, you
So
were,
like my back, so when I did my job well and efficiently and didn't waste my company's money,
Mhm.
I came home and was absolutely destroyed.
and your back just wasn't getting enough time to heal. I mean, like you were getting
No.
treatment, but it was kind of like,
It was putting a Band-Aid on an amputated leg.
right. It was
Yeah.
just like slowly, you were wearing yourself out.
Well,
So-
and not only that, the part that killed me was
Mhm.
I was destroying my body
Mhm.
to do this job that I loved, but then I came home and my kids knew me as like the fun roughhouse dad that like was play, and I play a lot and I like mess with them and we play games, we play pretend, like we do all this other stuff. But it got to the point where I was coming home and I couldn't do anything
Right.
because I had to like do all my treatments, my stretches, my traction, take medicine, and rest.
Yeah.
And I only had a couple hours in the day where I got to see them 5 days a week. And most of the time I was recovering from working.
Right. It was a really difficult season, and you were not at fault in the accident.
No.
And the insurance company that should have been paying for your treatment was not going to pay sufficiently.
No.
You were not getting what you were owed, basically. So we got into the process of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And that dragged on for like 3 years, just about.
It just finished, and
Yeah.
it's this June would have been 4 years.
Right. So all of a sudden, randomly, all these things started to come into a confluence, right?
Like the stars were aligning.
To kind of like put everything into perspective, it's like October of last year. We went to General Conference.
Yeah, September, October, something like that.
Yeah, we went to General Conference.
Yeah.
Which was not really a marketing thing for us, but we needed to go, and we
went to network. We went to make connections.
But it was just this massively kind of like reinforcing and affirming thing. We had actually cut back a little bit more. We had gone to a wedding in July, and a minister that we really respected had poured into us and then prophesied over us. He's used in the gifts. You would know this person if I said his name, and his amazing wife very generously recorded that prophecy.
Yeah.
She stood beside him as he spoke the word over us, and she captured it on a voice memo, which I am forever grateful that she did that. And so in the fall, we'd done this traveling. We'd gone to General Conference. We had gone on this kind of like leadership retreat that had really challenged us. I mean, I think I came away from that feeling an urgency because it was like the way Synchrony is working right now is not it's not sustainable as a business,
Yeah.
right?
It's as of right now, it's not.
Yeah, but we had this hope that we were going to find the magic way to make it to get to the right, ratio of people in the pipeline so that we could be matching effectively and it could become a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that was really the hope we wanted to be able to focus on this all the time,
Yeah.
matching people super fast. Just making that our full
Yeah.
focus.
Having enough people coming in that the subscriptions itself could sustain us and us
Mhm.
be able to like you leave your job and do this full time.
Right, that was the dream.
Yeah.
And we had, spent the last 3 years trying all these ways, or 2.5 years at that point, trying all these ways to do that and just not seeing a path forward. And we'd sat under with great mentors, at that retreat and basically heard them say like, look, I don't think what you have is a business.
Yeah.
Like it's not
They're
going
very, very, they're apostolic, but they're incredible business professionals
right.
too.
And at the end of the day, they're like, you have a supply problem. Like,
Yeah.
how do you make this work? Um, and
He
so,
very kindly says, what you are doing is very impactful.
yeah,
He goes, but it won't last.
yeah, it's not
And he was saying
sustainable.
that in the most love possible. He was basically saying like, it is not a business.
Right. The Synchrony in its current model is never going to generate enough revenue to support our family as
Yeah.
a source of income. And that reckoning was settling into my heart in October, and I was honestly really having a hard time with it because I was like, Lord,
It wrecked you.
it did.
Like I came away with more optimism because I was like, oh, cool. This gives us a path forward to like kind of like know what we need to do. And you were wrecked for like 2 months.
Yeah, because for me, what I
Yeah.
heard was I can't like I already knew at that point that the pace that we were working at was not sustainable.
Yeah.
I was wearing myself out. I wasn't spending enough time with our children. I could feel myself getting burned out. I could feel myself getting frustrated at people at I was having a harder time just extending compassion
Yeah.
to people when they made decisions I didn't agree with, like I could tell that things were building up to a breaking point. And so what I was hearing from this mentor that I respected was, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to stop working to do this.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place because I'm like, Lord, I cannot stop trying to work on this issue.
Yeah.
Like
Like we feel so strongly that this is something that we need to be doing right
right.
now.
And not necessarily matchmaking in the way that we're doing it, although that's
No.
a part of it that I love and think is very important. But this working on this problem of loneliness, of our dating culture, of singleness and the challenges that singles face, that has become our heartbeat. And that has become the way that right now the Lord is manifesting that passion we have for people who are weary.
Yeah.
Like that is the moment that we're in, that is the field God has called us to. We have no doubt about that. That
No.
had been confirmed for us over and over and over again.
Yeah. For context, we love the matchmaking part.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we absolutely love, and
Right.
that is a huge part of our ambition because
Yeah.
we want everyone to not be lonely.
Right.
But the deeper part of that is what you just said.
Right. And so I felt really torn because I was like, God, I don't know how you're going to do this because I'm hearing on one side that I can't make this business sustainable, and I know that to be true. But on the other side, I cannot put down this problem.
Yeah.
Like you have called us to this issue, so you have to be the one to solve it. And around that time, we got the news that the company was going to sell.
Yeah, we
But
were
wait,
at General Conference.
yeah. And we were going to receive a substantial substantial amount of money from
Yeah.
that. Not millions, but like
No, a lot of money.
a lot of money. More money than we had ever seen in one place before, which just felt absolutely unreal. Almost within within a few weeks of when that payout was supposed to happen, you got news that um they had settled your lawsuit
Yeah.
and you were going to be getting effectively the full amount of what you were owed for that.
Yeah.
Which thankfully,
It still wasn't enough, but it is a way more than what we were expecting.
right. And just these things happened almost at the same time and in such a weird timing. And so I was kind of going, oh, well, maybe this is the way that God is going to make this work, right? Like maybe what's going to happen is we're going to be able to put a bunch of money in savings, maybe generate some side income with a rental or something, and maybe like I'll be able to come home. Maybe I can just come home one day a week.
Yeah, because we had already made plans like this all last year. We were fully planning on by January of 2026, you would be coming home from your job one day a week to work on one day a week, you doing Synchrony for an 8 to 10 hour day
Right.
to help alleviate how much time you were taking away from the kids in the afternoon.
Hmm.
So that way it could be more balance of a work schedule to be more sustainable.
Right. And in my head, that was going to be sort of like the quote unquote Hail Mary. Like
Yeah.
maybe if I had, an 8-hour day once a week or a 10-hour day once a week that I could just work on Synchrony, all the problems of scalability would go away.
Yeah.
And I'd be able to do more consultations and do more coaching, and maybe we could make something work in the revenue model
And
then.
work on courses and work
Oh,
on
yeah.
whatever it
Other
is.
streams of revenue. Maybe that's a way that we can sort of maximize it and find a way to nickel and dime it into a sustainable income.
Yeah.
Right. So, um, December rolls around, the new year rolls around, and I am in this weird place of limbo where we now we got this money in the span of a week. We were launched 5 years ahead in our financial plan, or if not more. Like
10.
our house was paid
Yeah.
off,
Yeah, we paid off our house,
which was
which
crazy.
again, we bought a $67,000 house. So
Yeah, but basically
but
we
had already paid it down to like 50.
right, but we'd paid off the
Yeah.
remainder of our house.
Yeah.
Paid off any outstanding things that we owed, medical bills, like we paid
Yeah.
off everything that was in our name that we were holding on to. We had bought a bunch of stuff that we had been holding off on for years and like needed stuff,
Yeah. The stuff that we said that we needed.
like a water heater.
Yeah, our water heater was so sketchy.
Our water heater
I
went
bought it
out.
from basically the equivalent of Gainesville's Goodwill.
Yeah.
Like it was an offshoot of
When
Goodwill.
the last water heater went out.
Yeah, and this one was when I bought it, it was already like 10, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it was still working. It worked fine, but we were sketchy.
Yeah. So we quickly got a bunch of basically holes patched, and suddenly we had this pile of available money that we were like, okay, God, like, do we put this toward land? Is this when we go and
Oh, we went full Dave Ramsey on it though.
yeah, but I mean, like once we did all of that, we were like,
Yeah.
what's next, right?
Yeah.
Like, are we going to put this toward the land that we're going to eventually build this, kind of retreat place on?
Yeah,
Are we,
exactly. That dream of like, oh, this is right around that we
Right.
could do this. Yeah.
Are we going to live on it for a little while to focus on Synchrony? Like,
Well,
where's this going to go? Like,
we could start the process.
Right.
Again, we did not make millions of dollars, guys, but it was enough money to propel us forward.
it was enough money for us to start seriously asking, like, oh, all of a sudden we're in a position where we can start looking at the future. Where until then we had been looking at the next day.
Yeah.
And I remember lying in bed one night and I was just so overwhelmed with this kind of like worry of like, God, I don't know what to do. Like, it's going to have to be you. It's going to have to be you. And he brought that prophecy that we had gotten in July to my mind. And I pulled out my phone. You were asleep. I pulled out my phone and I listened to the memo. And as I'm listening to it, I'm realizing that as this minister is speaking things over us, everything that he was saying had been brought to fulfillment. And it was like the Lord was just showing me, like, I have figured this out. Like, I have fulfilled everything I said, and I will fulfill everything I said. Like, shut up, kind of.
You know what's funny is that prophecy we got was actually a confirmation, partially a confirmation to another prophecy we already got.
Yeah.
We went to actually, it's one of the Texas Singles Conference.
The year before.
The year before.
Or earlier in the year. February of the same year.
Anymore. No, it was the year before.
Oh, it's February of that year. July was the wedding. And then, yeah.
Okay.
A lot happened in 2025.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And I remember watching
Sister
Carter walk. She was on the other side of the church and we were over there praying. It was the last service, I think, or one of the, I think it was the last service. And we were praying, and dude, we were going to like be a help, but we didn't expect to get blessed by these services as much as we did. Like, they were so powerful,
life-changing.
And I remember Sister Carter is so funny. She you can see when she's searching for someone. Like God
Yeah.
gives her a message and she's like all of a sudden looking.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden she makes eye contact with us from across the thing, and all of
Hmm.
a sudden she just disappears. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, we had talked a few times and she was really sweet, but all of a sudden she comes through like the door behind us and she's like, hey, I want to talk to you guys. And we're
Hmm.
like, okay. And she ends up ministering over it. And one of the things she says is, don't worry
Hmm.
about finances.
Yeah.
God's got you.
Yeah.
She didn't say it that way. I'm paraphrasing. But she's basically like, just keep on moving forward and God will supply.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things is like you hear that and you're like, oh, that's great, and like we believed it,
Yeah.
but it was one of those situations where this was more and more of a confirmation to us of like, hey, Lord, if you want us to keep on going,
Hmm.
obviously the finances are not working out.
No.
This is not enough and also like, and to not put our kids in jeopardy of like not investing into their future for their college and for
Right.
like other things. Like
And to not make me a
we were,
shell of
yeah,
myself.
yeah, and that too, as a side benefit.
Mm.
So that being said, going to his testimony or his prophecy, like confirming that as well.
Yeah.
And then also coming to where we are now, it was just like seeing the full circle was insane.
Yeah. Just the hand of God moving things around. That night, I finally was like, okay, God has this. And in my head, I was like, he's going to make a way for me to come home one day a week. I'd already
Yeah.
brought that up with my boss.
Yeah.
They
You'd
were
already started working towards this.
right. They were amenable to it. People at my work could do that. And I was in a role that would maybe work. And so that was an option on the table for after the new year. We were going to kind of see how things played out. So I had that experience of like being awake and the Lord reminding me about this whole prophecy and me just trying to give it to God, right?
Yeah.
Still believing that it was going to manifest in me coming home a day a week in
Yeah.
some form or fashion. The next day, I get called in to a meeting with my boss's boss. Love her, but scared me to death, right? And
Not
she's
on the calendar, right?
no, just like, hey, do you have a minute to talk with me and this other higher level manager for a minute? We have an idea. Just immediately struck fear into my heart. So I go in there and they're like, we basically they asked me to take over management of a team, a
Yeah.
different team.
Yeah.
They were going to move me into a new role. Um, and it was going to be a higher level of responsibility. It was going to be a much more intense, responsive role on a much higher velocity team. I was coming in to replace a leader that had been in the role for like almost 20 years who was retiring.
Yeah.
And it was not an option for me to say no.
Yeah. It was like hey, can you please do us a favor?
Like, and
Yeah.
if I had said I absolutely can't, they would have been fine
Yeah.
with me. It
Yeah.
wasn't like my job was on the line, but they made it clear like,
We need you.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
not, to not step up into the plate would have been seen as me not playing on the team very well,
Yeah.
right?
Being a team player. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And I got off of that call and was just destroyed
Yeah.
because I knew I could not take that role and come home one day a week.
Yeah.
There was no way. In fact, that role, because of the way that the team that it supports and the seasonality of it, it was going to require me not to work as much after hours. And my Synchrony work was starting at 6
6 p.m.
p.m.
Yeah.
I would get off work at 5, have an hour to like eat dinner, see the kids, start Synchrony at 6 p.m. and work either till 9 or 10. And I knew that was going to have to go away because in the busiest seasons of this team, I'm going to end up working at night and like it's going to eat into my evenings. So I couldn't book stuff in the evenings anymore like that. And I was just overwhelmed with grief. And I was like, Lord, you just told me that you like had this figured out. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like this is my whole plan of me being able to come home. I'm not going to get to work on Synchrony now. Like I thought, like I kept being like, I thought you put this in my heart for a reason. You
Yeah.
keep telling us and affirming for us this is the work we're supposed to be doing. But I feel like now you've laid all this groundwork and now you're putting up a blockade. Like, what is this? That day, that evening, so I go through this whole emotional roller coaster. That evening, I'm on Synchrony calls, I'm doing work. You're outside with the kids in our front yard of our little sketchy house.
Was it that day?
Yes, it was the same day.
No way.
Our neighbor from behind us walks around to talk to you.
Which, mind you, I had never. I talked to him once
Mhm.
the first week we moved in.
In the 4 years we had been there.
Yeah, we had been there for 4 years, and I had talked to him once the week we moved in, just for him to basically say hi and for him to scope out who was moving behind him.
Right. Not they're like not we're not super social neighbors,
No.
right? He came around to talk to Steven about like the fence we'd put up or whatever.
Yeah.
But while he was there, he said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know my wife and I are going to sell our house. We haven't listed it yet.
He
It
basically said, "Hey, my cousin said
right.
I should tell you about it."
And what's funny is, again, going back to like generational blessings, this man is a descendant of one of the other families in the church that had bought land out here that were all part of that same group that my grandmother and mother grew up with. This family were the descendants of another church family. They're no longer in church. But it's interesting because I think that um, the Lord moved on them to come to us
Yeah,
in a roundabout kind of way, which I was really grateful for. So he approached us about looking at the house, and we weren't considering buying a house
not at
because
all.
yeah,
No.
because we were like, oh, we're gonna buy land,
Well, yeah,
right?
because we're so frugal that we're
Right.
like, we're just gonna stay in our place, finish renovating it, and then just live in it, and just try to let this money make money to help us propel forward.
Right, exactly. So, but Steven's like, well, I'm gonna go look at it, to see if it's a house that my mom or sister
Yeah,
could move into because your
yeah.
mom,
I legitimately went to look for my mom and my sister.
right? You come back from looking at this house and you meet me in the driveway and you're like, I have a crazy idea. I think we should buy that house and keep our house. And the funny part about it is my little risk averse self, who also hates when my plans are,
Well, what I actually said to you was,
because
"Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. I need you to have an open mind." That was the first thing I said to you.
yeah, because you know that I don't love when plans suddenly change, right?
Well, not plans suddenly change in your risk averse.
Right.
Like you're also, I knew it was a crazy plan.
And I didn't want to get back into debt, all these different things, right? When you said that, immediately my initial feeling about it, and it was the weirdest thing, was peace.
Yeah,
It was so weird, so off brand for me because
yeah,
I had not had a peaceful day. I
yeah,
was not in a peaceful state. And you said, I want to go buy this house, a much bigger house,
yeah,
right? And I was like, yeah, okay, like let's talk about it.
yeah.
And it
And I was,
was,
I looked at you like I was cross-eyed. I was like,
yeah,
"What
like,
happened to my wife?"
yeah, who are you?
Yeah,
And it was so funny because it was like, okay, there's a way to do this where because our house was paid off, basically we were like, we could keep our house as a rental,
yeah,
which we wanted to do because we wanted to be able to make some side income. We also wanted to be able to have a space for people to come stay,
yes,
going back to that whole
yeah.
vision. And
Mind you, just to reiterate, the house I went and looked at, like looking at my hands, the house I went and looked at, we live here. It Our fence is right here. This is the house we went to look at,
yeah,
right behind our adjacent fence that directly connects our properties together.
right. So we and I, as we were thinking about what to do with our money, I really didn't want to move away from our little house because it was so special,
Yeah,
right? It
and
was
yeah,
this
it's this
it
the
was
whole
a
generational thing.
yeah, and our son had been born there and we were going to remodel it and finish it and I wanted to see it finished and all this different stuff. But this opportunity opened up and we're like, okay, we go and look at the house and it is it's not lavish. Our house is not massive. It is so much bigger than what we were living in
Oh yeah,
because we were living in effectively like a shoebox,
yeah.
but it is comfortable. It
Oh
was
yeah,
immediately like, oh, our family could live here and be comfortable for a very long
yeah.
time.
And if we decide to grow our family, it would be substantially more comfortable.
Not pregnant, just
No,
FYI.
yet.
Wow. I like the mustache, but not that much. Woo. Anyway, so it it was so funny because in this whole series of events, right? So the payout, the questions about how God was going to help us use this money, him reaffirming that he had it under control, me getting this job I didn't want,
Yeah,
and then us basically being offered this house. The craziest part is for this season right now that we're in, where we just moved into this other house and we're still having to finish the renovations in the kitchen on our old house before we can rent it or do anything to it. Right now, it can't generate income because
yeah,
it
not
still
yet.
needs some work and needs to be fixed and made pretty and whatever. We're having to float both houses, and we're able to do that only because I got this new role.
Yeah,
Like I needed to be able to work at my full pay for this season in order for us to be able to do these things. Had I gone down a day a week, that would not have been possible.
no,
And we wouldn't have been able to keep the house. And so what's wild, Stephen, this like, and I mean, you and I know this obviously, but we were able to do a thing where we did not put a mortgage on the new house.
yeah.
We were able to take out a note on our old house that we'd
That we
already
had
paid
just paid
off
off literally 3 months prior.
Right. We had paid it off. We took out a small-ish mortgage on that house
Yeah.
and were able to buy the new house in cash.
Yeah.
So the house that we live in with our
Which is
children,
slightly bigger yard
much
that is
newer home.
much newer home, more comfortable, more updated. Again, it's not massive. Like the house that we're living in is like 1,500 square feet
Yeah.
under like where the actual core house is. Um, and it has a nice big garage, but going from 900 to 1,500, and the lot size went from a third of an acre to 3/4 of an acre, and it's fully privacy fenced in. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, just to give you guys a sense, like our heart has been connection and respite for people and
Yes.
rest. We could not have people over in our old house. We
No, it
we
was
had
destroying me.
we had no room. We did not have a living room. We had a small room, smaller than this shed, that was our living and dining room put together, where we had a couch and a tiny table that would almost break every time an adult sat at it. And
If we had a couch bigger than a love seat, we could not have a dining room table.
right.
That's how small that room was.
And we could not have people over. We could not entertain. We could not host. We couldn't host Bible studies. The first week in the new house, we had 12 people over at the same time.
The first 2 weeks, we had people over 6 days.
Yeah,
That was
constantly.
because of me.
Yeah. But it was great
Yeah.
because it was like water in the desert. Like
Yeah.
we had this heart for people, and we had been sort of just putting that on the shelf over and over again because we had no place to bring them. We had no place to sit them down. We didn't have a table to sit around with them. We couldn't
Yeah.
make a pot of coffee for them in a home that
Yeah.
we could feel comfortable in. So we did that, and that house is paid off.
Yeah.
Like there is no we do not owe a note on the house that God provided to us.
But here's the crazy thing, though.
Mhm.
It isn't just that simple.
Yeah.
The person who sold it to us basically came, and he's a relative of an elder of one of the families in the church who moved out
Right.
to Fairbanks, along with your great grandmother
Yeah.
and grandfather and brother and sister McGraw.
Yeah.
Right.
But he is no longer in church.
No,
Like
no, no,
yeah.
no. But he ended up coming to us and saying, "Hey, if you want it, I'll sell it to you before we put it on the market, so we don't have to go with a realtor."
Yeah.
So he took money off of the price, and he had already had the asking price substantially lower because he wanted to build a house on his property that
Yeah.
he was trying to build, but he couldn't do it until he got the money from this house. So he's
Right.
very motivated to just get out and go.
We got the house at a steal.
Literally probably $50,000 under market value.
Yeah.
So even if we weren't planning on moving into it, it would have been a good investment anyways.
Yeah.
But literally God opened up the door for that number that he brought it down to was the max that we were able to do and not put our family at risk financially.
Yeah.
And be able to pay that house in cash with borrowing on our home.
Yeah. So to put it this way, we looked at that house on January 10th.
January 10th.
We closed on the house on February 10th.
Yes. So for context, for the people in the Discord, I am sorry.
Yeah.
I dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah. In that time, we basically we did all the paperwork to get the loan figured out for this house, so we'd have the cash in hand to buy the other house. Did all the appraisals, all the whatever. We went to Max and Rhea's wedding.
Yeah.
We got back. We closed on the loan.
Yeah.
We went on the
we
cruise.
planned all of our travel
Yeah.
for things coming up this year in January.
in February.
And
Yeah.
February. So we're like, because we didn't have a plan to buy a house. So
Right.
we not only did we have to get everything done to buy a house, which for those who don't know, normally buying a house takes like 2.5 to 4 months, depending on the process and depending on
Mhm.
inspections and getting things fixed, and also like bidding and
Negotiation.
negotiation wars and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So we did it. We closed. We looked at it on the 10th.
Mhm.
I gave him an offer we gave him an offer a week later. So we
Yeah.
closed in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And like it happened so quickly. And so jump to now, like we have to wrap this
It's
up
okay.
because
It's okay. It's a long episode. It's no big deal.
I just feel guilty for talking about ourselves this much.
They
But like,
don't have to listen to us.
if you're still here, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So now we find ourselves in this moment where we have this house where we are no longer uncomfortable for the first time in our entire marriage.
Yeah, first time in almost 10 years. We're walking around as if this is an Airbnb that we're about to get kicked out of.
Yeah. And again, it's not lavish, it's just comfortable. There is
Yes.
nothing broken about it. There is nothing
Yeah.
falling apart about it or dilapidated about it. It feels safe for our family in ways that our houses historically have not felt. Um, it is the first time where our home has felt like a home in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It is the first time where we have had the chance to really settle into a home and make it our home as a
Yeah.
married
And invite
couple.
people over and feel like our guests will be comfortable.
Yeah, it has given us a place to be hospitable,
Yeah.
which we have missed so much. And so we're doing that. I'm in this new role, which I didn't want, I didn't ask for. God is blessing in it, even though it's not what I expected, not what I planned to be in. He's opening doors, and I believe that he's working in that. It's going fairly well. But I'm not coming home one day a week right now.
Yeah.
We know without a shadow of a doubt that God orchestrated every single one of those steps
Yeah.
because his hand in it was so clear. I mean, just the miraculous hand of God lining every single thing up.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even say this. The amount of payout that I got from the company's sale was double what we expected to get.
Yeah, we expected a certain number, and literally when we got that email at General
Mhm.
Conference, I had walked out. You had texted me 15 times, but
Because you were in a
I
session.
was in a session listening to LJ Harry's storytelling. It was amazing. If you can go back and listen to it, it's
Mhm.
fantastic. And the art of storytelling. And I was on the front row,
Yeah.
or the second to front row.
So he's not looking at his
I was
phone.
so entranced in his storytelling
Yeah,
ability.
I'm like in the hallway, like having like a panic attack because I'm looking at the number in this email going, oh my Lord, that's going to change our life. Right.
Yeah.
And I ran into the session right at the end and grabbed you and told you the amount. And I just watched.
Well, yeah. Well, I
Like,
started bawling. It was
yeah,
funny. And I can't remember who it was. There was a gentleman
it was,
who,
I don't remember his name, but we worked on the addiction stuff together.
yeah.
Like we talked about.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
This was a Synchrony, a person who listens to the podcast who wanted to come say hi to me.
oh, really?
And
Yeah.
you had just had me read the email, and he walked up so excited to say hi to us.
Uh-huh.
And I looked up to him and I started bawling.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, we just got really good news. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, I was like,
It was the most
I'll
awkward
talk to you
experience
later.
ever.
Yeah.
So even that, like the miraculous hand of God has
Yeah.
been so apparent in every single part of this process, undeniably so.
Yeah.
Like there is no doubt in my mind that God meant for every single thing that happened to happen that way.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what that means for Synchrony.
Yeah. But what's funny is the first thing we said after seeing that money,
Mhm.
I can almost remember it perfectly, is like, we said, it wasn't like a, yay, we can retire and like try to live. There's not enough money for that, by the way.
Mhm.
Like we can try to live comfortably and increase our living
Yeah.
and buy a nice car or whatever. We immediately go, it was almost like a charge. It was a
Yes.
charge from God saying, you don't have any more excuses now. Now,
Like,
time is still a struggle,
Right.
but now money is not. And then again, I don't want to go overboard. We're not crazy rich or anything like that.
Mm.
But it's now not so like such a big problem in our mind that we're like, okay, God, how can what do you want us to do with Synchrony now?
Yeah, he removed a massive source of drain and exhaustion from us in the
Yeah.
form of where we were living and what we were trying to do and what
Yeah.
the state that we were surviving in.
Yeah.
He took us out of survival mode.
Yes.
And now I don't have more time for Synchrony. But at the same time, we had already planned to close the pipeline to women in January.
Yeah, that was a part of the plan already.
Right. And we didn't know this was all going to happen. So now we're at the point where, okay, we're only seeing men come through for consultations.
Which a lot of men are coming in, by the way.
Yeah. Praise God.
Praise
I'm
break.
starting to dig into the data. We're doing that data mapping. I'm very excited about that. It's going to be so cool. We're at this moment where we are looking at Synchrony going, Lord, we don't know what your design is for this now. It's not the business we envisioned it being that could sustain us financially. That will not happen in its current structure, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I am kind of like, I've stopped looking at our sales.
Yeah, I know.
I've stopped looking at the graphs. I can't. It doesn't matter anymore. Like, I feel so strongly. I mean, I want to make sure that we're not
Like, we need to sustain our business, like expenses.
right. We need to not start bouncing checks for our platform or whatever. But like, we're not going to do
Brittany's
that.
got to get paid.
Yeah, we got to pay Brittany. We're keeping the lights on, and as long as the lights are kept on, I'm kind of at the point right now where I don't care if we make money because I we are kind of waiting for the hand of God to show up and tell us what our next moment is. And
Yeah.
I almost feel like we're in this brief moment of calm before we go into this another rapid fire season of change.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we're in this season where we're getting all of these men in,
Mm-hmm.
which is incredible. And probably, what would you say, 3/5 of the men coming in are like good matchable men.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've met great people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a lot the higher stats than normal for us are coming in that are
Mm-hmm.
good matchable men ready to go. And so, like, we're going to be going into a season where we're going to hopefully be seeing a lot more matches, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
relationships, a lot more marriages, which is great. But the thing is what's not exciting about that is we're actually not making money on those guys right now. like,
No, yeah, we're
like,
the guys that we're
like,
working
oh, this is
with.
great, but we're also not making any money. So it's
Yeah.
like,
And guys, this is not a guilt trip if you're
no,
listening
no,
to
no,
this.
it's not. No.
Our guys aren't paying us anything. They're in the freemium, and we're
Yeah.
not, frankly, doing a lot of hard work to chase them down for money after the freemium.
Yeah.
We're not really worried about people's subscriptions. Like, we're trying to keep everything floating, but I'm not nickel and diming it right now.
No.
And we want to be good stewards. We want to make sure that we're keeping things decent and in order. Our priority right now, though, is sitting in this waiting season in this very blessed moment that God has brought us to, and in the moment that he's in, and listening for his voice. And I feel, if you're listening to this and you're one of the folks that helps pray for us and with us,
Yeah.
please pray that God's direction is made so apparent to us that we're sensitive to that. Pray that we don't get distracted by things that aren't valuable to his work.
Yeah.
Um, and I felt, it's funny, since we moved into the house, I have felt tugs at my attention. Like, I have felt myself, I am simultaneously so at peace and so relaxed and so comfortable, and also much more prone to random frustration and random angst and random emotion. And I almost feel like, I'm not trying to be super woo woo, but I do feel like there's a bit of an attack sometimes of just like, I have had a harder time pulling myself out of um the frustration and the jadedness of encountering our dating culture and all of its warts. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
someone challenged me about that the other day in a consultation,
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah, I met someone for the first time, and he's really cool. I'm, like, very excited to work with him. And he said, "Yeah, I've been listening to the podcast for a long time, and I don't always agree with everything." And he basically said, "I think that I think you have to start focusing more on hope."
Yeah.
Like, and I have felt that being hard for me. I do feel like in this season of plenty,
Yeah.
my temptation, the kind of spiritual war in my mind and body, is to slip into angst again and to slip into fear. What comes next?
Yeah.
So if you guys are praying with us, we thank you for that. Please continue to pray.
Yeah. No, that's something that's been on my mind too, because like I found myself just, it's almost the thing that we didn't expect with Synchrony
Mm.
is to see how deep this goes into just dating culture
Yeah.
itself. And it's not just apostolics, but dating culture in general.
Just the wounds laid bare.
Yeah, but also how much of it's bleeding into our movement.
Yeah.
And so right now I think we hit a season last year
Hmm.
where we're like, dear God,
Yeah. And it's,
we're like, it was almost like, um, I'm not comparing myself to Joseph in the Bible, but it's one of those moments of like, he knew there was going to be 7 years of plenty,
mm-hmm.
but then he also knew there's going to be 7 years of famine.
Right.
Right. And he's the only one seeing the famine.
Right.
And everyone's like, what are you doing? He's like, no, we got to prepare. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And I think this last year, I think for the first time we saw like the wound and we're like, oh man.
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to figure out, okay, where's the plenty coming from?
Yeah. And it's this weird, like, side by side, kind of both are happening at the same time. Joy and grief.
Yeah.
Like, we are seeing God do like literal miracles in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
In our life, in the life of our clients. Like, We're seeing beautiful things happen in the lives of the people that we've worked with, incredible families forming,
Babies.
babies, uh, but like rich blessings being
Yeah.
poured out through that we could have not imagined. We did not architect. They are directly the hand of God in these people's lives, right? And at the same time, we're grieving the vision of what we thought Synchrony could do and realizing that
Yeah.
it's going to take much more than just our little matchmaking venture to
Sure.
change and heal this deep, deep, deep wound in our church.
Yeah.
And the gravity of that, the the weight of that, in the absence of all the other stressors of the house and everything else, the weight of that is so real and
Yeah.
so close and so heavy.
Yeah.
Like the grief for our church and the grief and not hopelessness, because I know God is going to make a way, but it's like it's the whole, again, going back to this metaphor of like of Israel when the infant boys would be slaughtered, right? It's this in Matthew it talks about Rachel weeping for her children and not being comforted, right? Like
Yeah.
just this feeling of we are both at the feast table and we are in sackcloth and ashes at the same time.
Yeah, a part of the negativity that, not say negative, like the Eeyore mentality, if you
Hmm.
want to call it that, that I've felt that in my mind and my bones this
Hmm.
last probably year, and I think I've heard it more coming out of me from the perspective of the Discord, because what happens is I get caught up in the details.
Hmm.
Someone asks me, "Hey, how's Synchrony going?" I immediately I zoom out and I see the whole picture. And a lot of people are thinking, "Oh, this is a really cool thing you guys are doing." And I agree. We wholeheartedly think this is amazing. But and people hear about the marriages and the relationships and the babies and
Hmm.
all the things, and they think and that's awesome, and it is. But you and I are seeing the over 100 plus clients right now sitting waiting,
Yeah, it's like my
and you hearing the stories
right.
and the sadness and the longing and the hope and the lack of hope and the losing of hope. It's like,
Yeah.
so we have to do a delicate balance right now, and this is something that God's challenging us on, is saying, hey, those feelings are real, but like that guy said, like you have to be able to we like provide hope.
Right. And I mean,
And
I
also believe it.
right. And I know that like it would be so much harder to be in this moment doing this work if God had not just absolutely blown our minds with his miraculous
Yeah,
provision.
for sure.
Like I mean, exceedingly abundantly. Like we feel so overwhelmed. Still, we find ourselves just
Yeah.
walking out into our yard going, is this even real?
No,
Like
I know.
and and none of it is of our design. I'm grateful that we had the opportunities that we had and God helped us make the choices that we made so that we could be positioned for that. Um but yeah, so if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? Right now, it doesn't really mean anything to you in the sense of we're kind of in a holding pattern. We're going to be looking at our data, thinking about the next steps, looking to see what we can see in the patterns that we're seeing, continuing to meet with people,
Yeah,
continuing to match people.
we're still matching people. People are
Yeah.
still going on dates. Guys are still coming
Yeah.
in.
And we're not, this is not a weird way to announce that we're stopping
No, by
Synchrony.
no means.
We just don't know what its next form is going to be. We're in the whole like caterpillar to butterfly transformation process. Right now, we are soup in a cocoon and we don't know what's coming out of this, right?
Soup in a cocoon.
They literally turn into goo
Yeah.
and then just reform into a
Oh, yeah,
butterfly.
that's true. Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And God designed that too. So evidently he knows what's going on. But like I really do feel like we are where we need to be. We are doing the things we need to do. We are going to be putting our steps, like we're just taking the next step, saying yes, continuing to say yes, continuing to show up and do the work, continuing just to give God the glory for everything he's doing. I am more convinced than ever that his hand is on it.
Oh, for sure.
I just have no idea where he's taking it.
Yeah. And honestly, at this point, we just know it's going to go somewhere. And we know that it might pivot. And we know
Mhm.
that people are going to people are going to be impacted by it.
Yeah, and it's bigger than us. It's bigger than what we can do. I think I think one of the things that God really had to work out of me is when I'm sitting here going, Lord, I was supposed to come home one day a week so I could do this work and so I could finally
Yeah.
give it what I needed to give it and be available to people the way I wanted to. And he was kind of like,
Who?
why did you ever think you were the one making this happen?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I still need to check my email and be responsible about this stuff. But like,
Lord, check my email.
it's
Lord, answer those emails.
called upward delegation now.
Yeah.
But I do feel like he has challenged me that like I do not have the ability to transform
No,
the culture.
this isn't you or me to begin with.
No. And it's funny because the guys that are coming in, like there are a bunch of guys coming in. I don't know why we didn't change anything.
Yeah.
Like nothing has changed since end of last year for our guys that should have
Well, besides
caused.
it becoming free.
No, but it was free then. We didn't see this when it first went free. When we were advertising that it was
Yeah,
free.
that's true.
We're not advertising it anymore. It's
Yeah,
just
and
happening.
guys are still coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming in at a faster rate than I've ever seen. And it's nothing related to what you and I are doing.
Yeah, because we're not like, we haven't increased our marketing yet.
No. And some of them are coming in, they've never heard the podcast.
Yeah.
They've never seen our Instagram.
Yeah.
They're coming in because they heard it from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
I can't take any credit for that. The
No.
Lord will restore. Like,
Yeah.
it's got to be Him. So, yeah, how do we end this? I mean, what's the takeaway?
We're just gonna. It just here's where we are, and we're just gonna keep on moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're gonna keep on working towards increasing our efficiency in communication and trying, like,
Yeah, we're going to try to keep getting better.
we're looking for avenues and ways that it can, how we can bless people more.
Yeah.
With the time we have available to work on it.
Yeah.
You know.
So stay tuned. Thank you for listening to this long rambling story of our lives. I hope, if nothing else, I hope you're taking away from this that God cares and is ordering your steps. You know, I mean, like,
Yeah.
and I think about again, like going back to the idea of generational blessing. Like, I feel that we are reaping from the field planted by people that came before us.
Yeah.
Like the blessings that we are seeing in our lives are seed planted generations ago. And what we're doing, what we're being allowed to do is doing the same thing going forward. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, I'm excited to see the fruit of this.
Yeah. The funny thing is that house that we bought, that we chose to sacrifice in, if we had not chosen to do this, this money wouldn't really have gone far at all.
No, because we would have been paying off a massive mortgage.
Yeah, because knowing what situations happened in our life financially, things that came up, things that we needed to pay money for, we would have not been able to float that and a massive home mortgage at the time without going back into debt.
Yeah.
Like, we worked really hard to stay out of debt as much as possible.
Yeah.
And living in that house, living uncomfortably, made it that when we got this money, it went further than we expected. And what's cool is also that same house that your grandfather helped build the addition on, and that the same community that your great grandparents helped build the foundation of the church on, right, in Gainesville, is also the same property, the same area where we're also building this ministry, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. And we hope, I mean, I think the immediate hope for the future is once we have this, house set up and as a rental, ideally we're hoping to Airbnb it. We don't know. We'll see.
We want to Airbnb it to help it pay for the mortgage for itself. But then when it's not being used, or when we have friends or family or ministers or someone to come into town, it's starting to live that dream of investing into people and say, hey, come, don't worry about it. Like, come and stay.
It's not a comfortable family home for the long term. It's a great short-term weekend spot.
Yeah, we just made it sound really gross, but we're going to try to make it really nice for Airbnb, for it to be like a short-term, nice place to stay. And what's so cool is our house is adjacent to it.
Yeah, we literally just knocked down a big part of the fence.
Yeah, we literally I made a hole in the fence so we can walk back and forth.
Yeah.
That's your commute to work right now.
Yeah.
And so when we do invite them over, they can literally just walk from where they're staying to our house and
Mhm.
come and hang out and
So
spend time, and we
God
can
has
invest in each
given
other.
us, right. God has given us a version of our heartbeat dream
Yeah.
in a small way, but in a very meaningful way to us.
Yeah.
And he has honored that hope.
Yeah.
Ugh. I think it's just a testimony to how he honors uh, he honors your desire to chase after him. He honors your desire to build a godly family and a godly home. And I believe that even when when you are doing your best to serve him and follow him and say yes, I believe he brings those desires that are of his heart, right? It
Yeah.
says the Lord will give you the desires of your heart. When those are desires that he has given you and really embedded in you, I believe that he brings those to fruition, even when you don't see how he's going to do it and it's not a linear path
Yeah.
and it's not the way you expected it to be. So
It's
thank you.
yeah, we're learning to trust him and saying, you know what, we know he has a plan in our best interest in hand.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to this. Thank you to our friends and family that loved us when we were being really weird
Yeah.
and living in a very weird house.
And thank you to Nick for coming over and hanging out with me when our house at the time had fleas.
Nick, I'm so sorry, Nick.
We were not living in the house, by the way. We did not have our child in the house, DCF. We were living in the camper at the point.
So
But
much better.
so much better. But like, we have a lot of friends and family who supported us even when it looked like what are our
They were
friends doing?
they were
But
really
we had a plan.
they were very concerned. Yeah.
It's gonna make us sound like terrible parents. I promise the house where we were living was safe once it was all
Our
renovated.
children were physically safe.
Yeah, we did not move into the house until it was safe to live in it.
Yeah. There was that part where only the master bedroom was done and the
Well,
rest of
the
the
rest
house
was
was
getting
still gutted.
remodeled. Yeah, it was getting
We
remodeled,
would
but
we would
where we were sleeping and living, it was safe.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I love you.
I love you too. This might have to be 2 episodes.
Ugh, it's so long. I love
It's an hour and 47 minutes right now.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I have loved this adventure with you.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been a fun journey.
Yeah, it's been awesome. God is good to us.
Yeah.
Too good. I hope you guys have an amazing week.
Yeah. You guys have a good one.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.